Hello there, this is Ty Movie Guy, and July is coming to an end. So you know what that means. Today we're going to stop and rank the 7 brand new movies I watched for the month of July. And July has a track record of being one of the best months for movies, and this year is no different. We have gotten some great movies this month, but unfortunately, I've just been busy with my new job, and I just haven't felt too motivated to really review anything lately. So I thought, what if I just compile all the movies I watched this month into a ranking video? So stay till the end of the video to see what my new favorite movie of the year is, and little hint for you there. But yeah, with that all said, let's get started.
Fire, you son of a great power comes great responsibility.
My brother had a
You do this all day. I am Iron Man. Why so serious?
Now I am the comeback, the destroyer of worlds.
And unfortunately, coming in last place, we have Happy Gilmore 2. And basically all my worries about this film all came true. The fact that it's like a Netflix streaming legacy sequel movie just like didn't really sound good from the start, but you know, we had like a glimmer of hope that maybe it could be good just because of like how great the original was, but we all should have known from the start that it was destined to be as bad as it was. It's like not as funny as the original whatsoever, and just the jokes in this film are so bad. Instead of like actually coming up with like cool original jokes from like the original did, it's just like rehashing jokes from the original, and then when it tries to be like have new jokes, it's just like celebrity cameos, like, oh look, it's Post Malone, it's Eminem, it's Bad Bunny, it's some golfers that I've never heard of before. And then also like the jokes regarding the original film, they're just jokes like, remember my dad from the first movie? Well, I'm his son. And that basically happened like 3 times in this movie at least, where they just do that over and over and over again. And then also like stuff where Adam Sandler's an alcoholic and he's drinking out of random objects and stuff like that. And it's just like none of it was funny. But to top it all off, the worst part of this movie was, spoiler alert, Happy Gilmore's wife's death. Because I distinctly remember before watching this movie, I was thinking how like comedy sequels, they all kind of have a trend of killing off the wife. If you think about it, you know, you got Mall Cop 2, you got Zoolander 2, you got like Clerks 3. They all kill off the wife. I don't know what it is, but just comedies don't like having a wife around in the sequel. They just, I guess they find it, I don't know, they don't know how to write wives into the film and like have them do something in the film, so they just decide to kill them off all the time. So prior to this film, I was like so glad they weren't gonna kill her, because I distinctly remember seeing her in the trailer. So I'm like, okay, good, we got that cliche out of the way. And then 5 minutes in, what do? They kill the wife off again. And I was just like, oh my god, why does this always happen? And just like from that moment, I was like, oh god, what am I in for? So all in all, very, very disappointing. Does not live up to the original whatsoever. The only redeeming quality is it's kind of cool to see some of these characters come back, like Happy, of course, and Shooter, and Hal, and you know, there's a novelty to seeing these characters that I love, but also this film definitely tarnished the original. So it's like, yeah, it's cool to see them come back, but all in all, they just shouldn't have made this film. So that's why it comes in last place. Coming in 6th place, we have Eddington. And I was mostly excited for this movie because of the cast. You know, we got Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone, and Austin Butler. That right there is a phenomenal cast, and I will watch that movie just for that cast alone. But also, Ari Aster is a pretty decent director. I'm not crazy about him, but he just kind of, he's only got a few movies out so far, so I like to see whatever he's got cooking up next, just because like as a completionist, and he's got such a small filmography so far, I like to like just watch everything he's got. So yeah, I wanted to see it for him as well. And then also the whole modern Western aspect was really, really cool. But the one big downside of this film is the fact that it is a COVID movie. And me personally, I think it's way too soon for a movie like this. That only happened like 5 years ago, and I think we can all agree that was like not a great era for society whatsoever. So I think, yeah, 5 years later is too soon personally. I think they should have waited like a couple more decades personally, because you know, this is definitely a adult film, not like porn or whatever, but like, you know, a rated R movie. So anyone who should be watching this movie would easily remember the events back in 2020. So like, I don't know about most people, but yeah, I just don't, this was like a pretty low point in my life, and I'm sure probably tons of people's lives. So I don't really want to revisit it and other events that went on in 2020 and all of that. So yeah, I wasn't crazy about that. And then also I found it was pretty slow starting off. And then last kind of like half hour, it definitely picked up, but kind of it picked up in like a negative way that I wasn't crazy about, where I was just like, oh, what is going on? It's kind of like going off the rails with what Joaquin Phoenix's character does and everything like that. I love the cast and everything, and I love Westerns. Like, we don't get enough Westerns and stuff like that. So all of that was interesting, but I feel like it's still too soon for COVID and stuff, and it was a little boring, and then it kind of went a little too crazy at the end. So that's why it comes in 6th place. Coming in 5th place, we have Heads of State. And it seems like every month, starting in July to like June and now July, I've always been watching like one generic kind of streaming movie, and this is definitely this one of the month. But as we keep going, these movies seem to like progressively get better and better, because I was like kind of quite surprised how much I enjoyed this film. Don't get me wrong, it's still like super generic, like kind of spy movie. Like, what if we took the Prime Minister of England and the President of America and we put them together and they became like spies or whatever, and people were hunting them down, stuff like that. That right off the bat, that is a really generic plot. But I think what really saves this film is John Cena and Idris Elba. They are just a really great combo. And when I saw them back in The Suicide Squad, they were also once again such like a great like rivalry in that film. So when I saw they were going to be in a new film, this film, I was really excited to see their banter once again. And once again, they are really, really great together. And I would love to see even more films with them together. So yeah, that right off the bat, seeing them like bantering with each other and their little like rivalry and stuff like that was also really, really cool. And also the action in a streaming movie like this was also like kind of pretty surprising. This is coming from the same guy who directed Nobody, so that kind of like explains a lot, that he's just not kind of like some Joe Schmo, and he's got like a pretty decent track record with action. It's like, it's no John Wick, don't get me wrong, it's like nothing near John Wick, but for a streaming movie, it's like, it's decently pretty good. Specifically, the one action scene with Jack Quaid was really, really cool. Just the banter and the chemistry between these two actors was really cool, and the action was better than I expected. So all in all, I was pleasantly surprised from this film. Coming in 4th place, we have Jurassic World Rebirth. And I think I like this movie more than most people, but still at the same time, I was pretty disappointed with it, considering it was in my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2025 video. And starting with the good, I think it was definitely like a return to form with the franchise. Like, I think the Chris Pratt Jurassic World movies, they kind of went off the rails and got like too silly and too goofy and kind of lost what made the original special. So this one definitely did like return a little bit more, I'd say, with like, you know, a big crew going to the island and then they're on a mission and then shit goes wrong and all of that. So yeah, definitely was like a return to form in that aspect. And also at the same time, I know, hot take, but I do kind of like the D-Rex. I thought the D-Rex was pretty cool looking. I think when you're like 7 movies into the franchise, unless they like discover like a new dinosaur besides a T-Rex they can use as like the main antagonist, you kind of need to freshen it up with something that doesn't actually exist. So I think the D-Rex Rancor looking thing was like really menacing and cool. So I was not opposed to that creature at all. But moving on to the negatives, I didn't really care about like any of the characters whatsoever. Like, I don't even think I could name any of the characters' names at all. I know Scarlett Johansson's character's name is something Bennett. I don't remember her first name. I just remember it was like Bennett. And then the civilian family characters, they were like the worst of the bunch. And then even going even deeper, the boyfriend character was just super annoying, and I really didn't like him. So yeah, anytime they cut to that whole family exploring the island and trying to survive and whatever, I was just like, okay, can we please just get back to the mercenaries? They're at least more interesting than this random family. But at least the one cool scene with the family was the raft scene with the T-Rex. That was probably like one of the best scenes of the whole movie. So yeah, that was one of the plus sides of that family, but all in all, they were still really annoying. Pretty disappointing, but still, I liked it more than most people, and it was a bit of a return to form for the franchise. And also, side note, I kind of totally forgot how many kids like this franchise. Like when I went to go see it with some friends, there was like tons of kids in the theater, which, you know, I'm totally fine with if they like actually watch the movie and be respectful. But I was like sat one row behind like these kids, and they were just like climbing over the railing in the theater over and over again. And me, like, I don't know, I guess I have a tough time staying focused. So in the corner of my eye, I see these two kids like climbing over these railings and then going around over and over again like a jungle gym while I'm trying to watch this movie. So that was super annoying. But I don't know, maybe I'll do top 10 worst theater experiences part 2 if I can find 9 more examples. So all in all, that's why this movie comes in 4th place. Coming in 3rd place, we have Jaws at 50. And if you know me, you know Jaws is one of my favorite movies of all time. So as soon as I heard they were making a documentary about it for its 50th anniversary, I knew I had to watch this. And specifically with this movie, making a documentary about it is like such a great idea, considering everyone knows like how infamous the behind the scenes of this movie was regarding like the shark not working and all of that. So yeah, just making a documentary, like documenting what actually happened behind the scenes is just, yeah, this is like the perfect movie to make a documentary for. So yeah, once again, like I love seeing like how they dealt with the shark and like designing the shark and everything like that, and just I love seeing behind the scenes shots of that fake shark. Like once again, if you know me, you know I love that fake shark. I'm just mesmerized by that fake shark and all of that. So yeah, anytime I got to see it more in like behind the scenes shots was also really cool. And then also learning like the behind the scenes drama between the actors and on filming on a little island called Martha's Vineyard, and how most of the extras are just actual regular people local to Martha's Vineyard, and all of that was just also really cool, interesting facts and all of that. And how, you know, Steven Spielberg, this is like one of his very first movies, and he thought this was like gonna be his end, and this movie just kept him up at night, and it just like drove him crazy. But actually it was like a blessing in disguise, and became one of his like best movies of all time. If you are a Jaws fan, you have to watch this documentary. So that is why it comes in 3rd place. Coming in 2nd place, we have Fantastic Four: First Steps, and I am very happy to say that the MCU has finally got the Fantastic Four right. And like I've been saying in many of my most anticipated movies of 2025 videos, you know, we've never really gotten a good Fantastic Four movie up until now. So I've been like really hoping they know that and they want to get it right this time, and they definitely did with this film. So starting off with like just the vibe of this film, I love the retro futuristic 60s aesthetic. It just looked really cool. And when we first learned this film was going to be in a different universe, I was very skeptical to that, because, you know, this is kind of like, I guess, no, Deadpool and Wolverine would have been like the first kind of movie that was like mostly in a different universe, or Deadpool kind of like jumps around or whatever, but this is like the very first that is like solely in the MCU but a different universe. So I was very skeptical to that, but I think it was a great decision, because now we get to like they get to like do whatever they want without like having to tie to anything previous, and then they can have their own cool aesthetic and everything like that. So yeah, all in all, I was very skeptical at first, but now I'm glad, and it really did pay off with the whole vibe. And then the casting was, all of the cast was really great. Like lots of people were skeptical to begin with, but as soon as we started watching the film, like everyone kind of like knew right away. It's like, okay, they cooked with this casting. They did a really great job. Everyone is just perfect in their role basically, and they are just like such a great like family, and they really like show how much they care for each other. The whole aspect of like the baby and like how, what are they gonna do with the baby and all of that was just really compelling. You feel that they're a family, and they did such a great job at establishing that, and it just like they love each other, and they're gonna do whatever it takes to save each other and stuff like that. Also with Galactus, I think he is a phenomenal villain. I think the design of him is really cool, and he's not a cloud finally, so that's also great. And I love how he's just so menacing and powerful that they know they can't take him down. So we're gonna delve a little bit into spoiler territory. They know they can't take him down, so like their only option is to throw him into a portal. That's just how menacing and opposing he is of a character, and so that's also really cool. Also, once again, getting into spoiler territory, the post-credit scene with Doctor Doom was really cool. Him with the baby, and it perfectly ties into Doomsday next year. It just gets me super excited. Not like Infinity War Endgame excitement, like we're never gonna reach that level again, but it's getting there. I never thought I'd be this excited, but they're definitely rebuilding my trust with Thunderbolts and now this film. Slight little negative regarding this movie is we were all expecting them to lose at the end of this movie, which I think would have been really cool, considering it doesn't happen that often in superhero movies, and I think it would have really tied in nicely to Doomsday if they were in the film as like failures, and maybe they didn't tell the Avengers what actually happened until later in the movie and all of that. And I just think that would have been really cool if they actually failed. So I'm a little disappointed that didn't happen, but also at the same time, I expected it so much that I'm kind of glad they subverted my expectations and had them actually succeed and win the day and stuff like that. So yeah, all in all, great vibe, great family dynamic, great villain, great like stakes and the feeling of dread all throughout the film. So all in all, I'm very happy with this film, and I'm glad they finally got Marvel's first family right. And I'm so excited for Doomsday and how the Avengers and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts, how they all tie into Doomsday next year. So yeah, all in all, really solid movie, and that's why it comes in second place. But coming in first place, to no one's surprise, we have Superman, my new favorite movie of the year, and it's probably going to stay that way throughout the whole year and be my favorite movie of all of 2025. So what's there to say about a movie like this? Let's start with what we were all really excited for going into this film regarding like the hope and the optimism about this film. This is the Superman we've needed for a really long time, and this whole movie like goes and shows you like how much of like a great like Boy Scout kind of person he is, and how he goes out of his way to save everyone, and like doesn't matter if it's like a dog or a squirrel, or he even tried to save like that massive kaiju. He just wants to save everyone, and he's just like such a great guy. And I think going forward with kids watching this movie, growing up with the movie, I think this movie is going to actually have like a positive outcome with like just people growing up in general, and I think that's actually a great thing. And I see lots of videos and reels on Instagram how people are gonna like strive to be better because of this film. And me personally, I've also been trying after watching this film just to be a better person like Superman. So I think just in general, this movie is just such a positive outcome for society in general, and it's just something we really needed in a time like this. So I'm really happy about that, and I think David Cornsweet is a great Superman. I think he's my new favorite Superman. It used to be Henry Cavill just because I kind of like grew up with that character, but I think David Cornsweet is my new definitive favorite Superman, and I loved him as the character, and I also loved the whole Justice Gang. They were all great. Mr. Terrific was definitely the standout of the Justice Gang. The whole scene, him fighting with his T-spheres and everything like that with that song playing is such a phenomenal scene, and very Yondu reminiscent, and I love that. And I've been playing that song in Punk Rocker on loop over and over again. So yeah, he's definitely the standout of the Justice Gang, but I loved all of them too. And then also our villain in Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, is a great villain who is like such a hater, but also at the same time you don't sympathize with him, but you kind of get where he's coming from if you're in his mindset, where you strive to be the best all your life and everything, and then some outsider comes along and then takes all of your spotlight. Like if you were in his shoes, you would also be very angry at the same time and like resent someone like that. So yeah, he is like a great villain, and also now my new favorite, Lex Luthor and everything. I loved all of this film, and I even cried like 3 times in this movie. I cried when Clark had a little pep talk with his dad, and how his dad is saying how proud of him he was and everything like that. I cried when that scene happened. I cried when Superman was telling Lex Luthor what it means to be human and all of that. Just like I loved that. And then also on my second rewatch, I cried at the very end when Superman was watching all of the videos of him as a child. So yeah, all in all, this is my favorite movie of the year so far, and I feel like it's definitely going to stay that way. And if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. James Gunn just does not miss regarding superhero films, and this is definitely a great start to the DCU that just gets me really, really excited for Supergirl next year, Clayface next year, and then later on everything else in this whole universe. So yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. So that's the whole list. This was definitely probably the best month of the year so far. Stick around to see me talk about more movies and all of that fun stuff and everything like that. So yeah, farewell.